Hi, my name is John Bernard. I'm the owner and operator of Opalville Mines in southwest Queensland, which is owned by Opal Minded. We're here to take an opportunity to discuss a little bit about opal mining, specifically boulder opal mining, and some cutting. In the meantime, I'd like to talk about this book, Opal by Patricia Wolf. I've been given an advanced copy of it, and it's absolutely an excellent read if you like mystery novels. At the moment, we're just doing some servicing on the bulldozer and the excavator, which is back there. My brother's actually operating the camera and fixing some leaks. So today won't be mining, but it'll give us an opportunity to talk more about opals and opal cutting. We're at a typical open cut mine here at Opalville. And just to show you how it looks, we're up there, probably up as high as 45 feet. The first section is caprock. It's extremely hard. We need a hammer to break through it. Then we hit the first level of boulders, and that's exactly how opal is formed, in boulders like that, but not in those boulders. There's 1, 2, 3 levels. It's not until we get to a fourth level, which is 50 feet below where we stand, that we get some opal. But the issue is, it's a mystery. We have absolutely no idea if there's any opal. We've dug all around here, found nothing, but we found something over there. Opal mining is a mystery. And each mine has a mystery. This mine has existed since 1880s, and there's a lot of people who've gone through here, and a lot of mysteries, and a lot of interesting stories. Come with me and I'll show you one. The mystery I'm talking about ended right here at this spot, under this particular gum tree. Over 40 years ago, two friends of similar cultural background decided to join up in partnership and go opal mining. It ended in a tragedy right here. For weeks leading up to this particular tragic event that happened here, they were seen arguing and fighting in town, at the pub, and one evening, after a session of binge drinking and fighting, one of them decided to go to their ute, pull out a rifle, and shoot the other man dead. When he finally realized what had just happened, he dragged the body, his lifeless body, and threw him in the back of the ute. After loading the lifeless body in the back of the ute, he proceeded down this road towards Junda. Arriving to Junda with his victim in the back of the ute, he proceeded to this place, the Junda police station. He confessed his crime. Eventually, for that, he was tried and given a 7-year manslaughter sentence. The mystery of this story is that we don't really know if it happened in Opalville. And we don't know really why it happened. Was it that they did find a lot of opal? They were at the right time at the right place? Whatever it is, I spoke to him in the last 20 years of his life as he became an old man. We never discussed it. He never volunteered any information. He eventually died of old age. And he rests right here in an unmarked, neglected grave. Rest in peace. The real mystery is what's inside these boulders. We found these last week. We have absolutely no idea what's inside. We have some indication. This one broke off. The color isn't great, but the boulder is full of silica. The next one here, the color's better. Doesn't show much thickness, but there could be something inside. What I'm excited about is these ones here, these little ones. They may be too small, but the color is absolutely brilliant. Let's go cutting.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and whatever time you're watching. My name is Rhys Gard, and I'm a crime author who's very lucky today to be sitting here with Patricia Wolf, who you might know as the author of Outback. And the new release as well is called Opal. So it's coming out at the end of September. Congratulations and welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Rhys. Good morning. Lovely to be here with you. So nice to see a copy of Opal. We're just talking just before the launch, so there's not that many of them around yet.
No, I was very lucky to secure a advance copy, which is exciting. And I believe, Patricia, we have a couple of things in common. The
We
first that
do.
we both write crime novels with Australian settings, and the other that even though we do that, we have Australian accents, we're both in Europe right now. So,
That's right.
Patricia, where are you?
Talk.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Berlin at the moment, in my apartment in Berlin, and yes, I think you also come from rural Australia, don't you?
I do,
Are you?
yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, rural New South
so we're a
Wales, where
long,
you're Queensland.
yeah, mining town, Queensland, Mount Isa. So we're both a long way from home.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in Paris. Just quickly came over, and when Patricia and I were trying to, work out the right timings, it ended up being quite easy with the time difference because it's the same time, in the morning, which is great. Now I'm sure that everyone is really excited for this, so let's jump in, Patricia, with some questions. Um, Opal is the third novel in your DS Lucas Walker series. Uh, while having read the previous novels will help enrich the characters, you don't have to start at the beginning, do you? You could, if you're just discovering Opal, you can start there.
That's right. They're standalone. You can totally read them. Just read one. But the some of the characters, not just Lucas, but come through in several of the books. So if you're into the series, you'll be meeting some people you've met before, villains and good guys.
Would you mind telling readers where they're going in Opal, Patricia? Where are we? Where's our setting?
Yes. So Opal is really what we're now calling Outback Noir, isn't it? It's so nice from as an Aussie for me anyway to see it replacing the kind of cold, misty,
Mm.
Scandi energy with this really burning heat and isolation of the outback. Opal is set in Queensland again, in southwest Queensland, I would say, in the opal mining areas around. I mean, it's not set in a specific town, a town that exists. It's in a town called Kampara, which is an amalgamation of many places that I visited when I was there. But the area you're probably looking at is somewhere between Quilpie, Charleville, that sort of a bit further north, perhaps towards Junda, that sort of area, which is the kind of channel country, opal mining heart, which it's not a specific location, but it's a that part of Queensland that it's set in.
Yeah, and I think if anyone's been there, they sort of understand the isolation, and you write about it beautifully too in terms of driving, how you go from a tarred road with other traffic, and then it progressively gets redder and more orange as you go.
That's
Um,
right. I actually did the journey. I really like I go back as often as I can. I really love outback Queensland, and I drove from Brisbane up to well, more or less past Longreach anyway, over a period of 3 or 4 weeks. And I took all those little side roads. And one time I was driving along, and a stone spat up and smashed my window. And you really, some of this came into the book because you really get that sense of you're on your own.
mhm.
It's 200k to the next town, and then they have to air freight in a replacement window, and the isolation of it really. The nice thing about being a writer and having the chance to go to these isolated places is you can really. I hope some of it comes on the page, some of the emotion of it and the sense of sort of the beautiful. I love the outback, the empty sky, the empty horizons, the huge skies, the heat, but it's also a scary place if something goes wrong, and it's a place where you can hide. So I think it's a place that's suited to crime fiction because you can attract that element quite easily into the book.
Absolutely, and it's a little bit as well. It's got that foreboding and sense of menace because, especially in the town that we're in, there are is it 100? There's about 100 people that live there
Yeah.
permanently, and a lot of them fly in, fly out with opal mining. But one of the things I think that you depict here, which is quite true about the Australian landscape as well, is how volatile and unpredictable it is. You know, you think you're on this dry red dirt outback town, but then suddenly you can have torrential rains somewhere and you're stuck, you're flooded in.
Stuck. Yeah, exactly. And in these smaller towns, they're not really built. I mean, if on these big floods, they just suffer it out. You know, they're stocked up, they're prepared, they're ready. And when you don't come from that part of the world, it's kind of a shock to think, well, I just have to survive now. You know, there's no flights coming in, there's no actual way out. So they're very self-sufficient and very, yeah, isolated. And opal mining. Yeah, opal mining is, I don't, maybe we're going to talk about this, but the other part of the thing I liked about this area is that opal mining, I grew up in Mount Isa, which is a big copper, lead, zinc mine. And when you mine things like copper, lead, iron ore, you have these big organizations, massive mines, they
Mm.
find a seam, they can predict for the next however many years how much they're going to get. But opal mining just isn't like that. It's one guy or two guys. It's more like gold mining. You don't have a way of predicting where it's going to be. I mean, you might have an idea that this looks like a kind of, so it's really a gamble and an individual gamble, and it attracts really interesting people who are prepared to live that life really in the middle of the bush, digging, hoping that they're going to strike it rich. So yeah, the combination of this isolated country with the potential for heat or flood or cyclone or whatever, plus the kind of gambling energy of Oakland, it was just pulled me in. It really pulled me in.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so true too, isn't it, in terms of, you know, this book, it's fiction, but it definitely could
Yeah, it's
happen.
fiction.
And I think that's part of the Australian certain Australian characters are very much like that. You know, we're gamblers here generally,
Yes.
especially out in the outback. We love to
Mm,
gamble, and there's that sense of, you know, striking it big or getting the big time. So I think that that's still been, you know, part of our identity since, you know, the gold rush or, you know, our early
absolutely. But
identity.
and the opposite side to that coin is when you don't strike it big, and then
Mm.
you know, you have to deal with the disappointment, you have to deal with the anger, you have to deal with the frustration of having invested in everything. And that's the kind of when some of the characters in this book, you know, don't necessarily make such good choices, maybe.
Well, that's a great segue to my next question, which was there are some, and I love too, there are quite a lot of, you know, surprising twists and turns. We're not really sure where we're going.
Well, good.
Prologue sort of sets us up, and we know we have to get there, get to a point eventually, but we do take some great twists on the way. And a lot of these characters, Patricia, they are what I would call quintessentially Australian, you know, the way that they speak, the things that they do. Tell us more about some of the new characters and the recurring characters in Opal.
Okay. Well, the in terms of the recurring characters, really, probably the main one I would, other than Lucas, is his cousin Blair, who has a bigger role in this. He's Blair and Lucas are very close, and when something happens that, you know, puts Blair in a difficult position, Lucas is really emotionally involved. So I think that's quite interesting. And his sister is there for the first time, and it shows a lot more again how he's right through the series. I think you can see that he's quite close to his family, and that's a big part of who he is. And so this book puts him in a position where he's really got to face that. In terms of new characters, I think the Opal miners are probably some of my
Mm.
favorites. They're rogues, and they're living this life, as I said, a little bit on the edge, having a bit of a some of them having more luck than others. And I mean, they're not based on anyone specific. Again, it's like the town; they're an amalgamation of people I met. But I'm glad you think that they're real, because if you do a trip out bush, you're going to meet so many people you could put in a book. You know, it's just like take your pick. They're all characters. It's great.
Absolutely. And obviously, you, as you mentioned, you grew up in Queensland and you recently had a nice big road trip as well. But you know, obviously the language, it to me, it really brings that authenticity. I love that you weren't afraid to shy away from some of the characters using colorful language, which, as we know, Patricia, from living in the bush, it's just part of life. That's how they speak. Um,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to say to readers as well, my one of my favorite additions in this book, which is so Aussie, and it would be, you know, inauthentic if it wasn't there. When you're turning around, you don't take a U-turn, you chuck a Yui.
I'm glad that it feels authentic. It's actually quite, I think, a tricky thing from a writing perspective to get language sounding authentic but still readable. You don't want it to turn into kind of I don't know, a caricature of itself,
Parody
you
or a
know.
caricature.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. You need to balance it. So I'm glad you feel that it's authentic. Um, there's a few, as you say, the language is quite colorful. If anything, I've toned it down from what it really is. But no, oh yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
I've got to just, this one's just popped into my head, Patricia. This is, your third book with Lucas and different settings each time. But um, how are you finding the experience of writing these and the plotting? Is it because obviously it's very much crime writers always talk about how it's almost like, putting a puzzle together or, like an artist having to, start on a blank canvas and do all the different layers. How are you finding it into book three in this series with writing? Is it getting easier? Is it getting harder?
I actually think it is getting easier because I'm aware now of some of the beats of points where you want to sort of start to trick, get people thinking, oh, well, this isn't so good, to build up the suspense. Whereas I think the first book I wrote, I had to go back and build up that suspense. It wasn't as suspenseful in the beginning. And now I think there are certain things, tricks isn't quite right, but there's certain points where you think it needs to be more suspenseful, so you build it up. And the nice thing I think about a series, which I'm really enjoying, is that I've really gotten to know the characters as I've written, and
Mm.
I feel like it's nice spending time with them. I know how they're going to react, especially Lucas in certain situations, but it still surprises me, and it feels like being with friends. That sounds so cheesy, but it does. You really get to know the
No,
people that you're writing about. So that I find I think it's getting easier.
with it, it's
Yeah,
just a lot
I
easier.
mean, I always come home when I write a book. I usually spend 4 to 5 months at home back in Australia, doing the research and then staying writing because I have. It's
You
not. I'm
can
sure
hear it.
everyone's not like this, but I need to hear it around me. Exactly. I need to see it and
Yeah.
smell it. So, yeah, it's
And
good.
if someone picks up a copy of Opal, which we're hoping they'll do at the end of
Yes, please
September,
do.
and they're
Now I've got
yeah,
one as well. I'm
yes,
so
we've both
happy.
got that. Exciting. Great cover, by the way. I love
Oh,
the
I love
the sense of these, and this is very much what the communities are like.
the
It's
look.
just flat
Yes,
ground,
that flat. Those,
just vast
dry.
little houses. Everyone goes to the pub. The food's always the same. It's
That's right.
yeah, depicted well.
The
To have you,
festivals.
we'd love
Yeah.
to have you in Australia, but
Yeah.
it's so exciting that we could chat today to
Yes,
preview
it's
Opal.
great.
Really excited for
Thank you.
readers to discover it. And I think if anyone has any questions, they can put them in the comments for Patricia and she'll get back. But
I'll answer them. Yeah.
it was honestly a pleasure to chat, Patricia. Really looking
Really nice to meet
to,
you.
yeah, you too, and looking forward to Lucas's next adventure.
Thank you so much. Really, really nice to chat.